Sir, now will you answer my questions?
I am listening to you.
How long have you known Lieutenant Harrington?
We met at my officers' club several days ago. A brave boy, you can believe me. What could be better than to invite him to be my guest at this reception, where he could make many fair acquaintances?
Where were you precisely when the tragedy occurred?
We had been standing at the bar until the shot rang out, and I personally remained at the bar after it.
Did you happen to notice Miss Bromsby at that moment?
Impossible. My eyesight is so deucedly poor that I would not even notice if a fly fell into my whiskey.
Really?
Yes, damn shame. But I have a fine ear. I can offer much when the questions are about sounds. I can tell you that from all the applause, that old Bromsby had arrived and entered from my right. For the sound to have carried so well, the crowd must have been parted in that direction. I will add that if Lieutenant Harrington says that he saw a flea dancing with a fly in this place, you can take it on trust.
Is there anything else you recall?
Well, hold on a moment. I do have a scoop for your tabloid. I can assure you that Bromsby was killed with a right revolver of small caliber.
Thank you for this information, sir.
Colonel to you.
I would like to ask you several questions, if you don't mind.
If I can be of help, sir?
What were you doing when the tragedy happened?
I was serving those two gentlemen. As I was occupied, I saw nothing.
Are you one of the household staff?
No, I was sent by the Hartford agency to serve at the reception.
All right, you may take or leave.
Good evening, sir.
Were you at that precise spot at the moment of the murder?
Indeed, I was standing just there. I could easily see the door because there were so few people in front of me.
What did you do right after the shot was fired?
I left the room as did almost everyone. I must leave now and make my excuses to Miss Lavinia for my behaviour, don't you think?
Thank you for your help.
It was not a problem.
Sir?
Did you know the Frenchman?
Oh, he chatters on, like all the French. I do not think he came back.
Thank you for your help.
My pleasure, sir.
Miss, this revolver, is it yours?
Oh, dear God.
Why would you require a pistol?
My father gave it to me shortly after I arrived. Dear God, what will the police make of this? I swear I did not kill my father. No.
But why would he press you to carry a pistol?
He seemed most anxious for my safety and his own. He told me that he would explain everything to me later, after the reception.
Miss, with your consent, I can investigate this matter.
Mr. Holmes, Mr. Grimble has explained to me who you are and what you do. I would be eternally grateful if you could find out who killed my father.
That's all right. I must leave you now. Be strong, miss.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes.
I asked myself, what was Watson doing while I was searching the house? He was supposed to prevent people from leaving by the back entrance.
Here now, watch your step. If you're a reporter, there'd better be a doctor nearby, 'cause when I get done with you, you'll need one.
Look here, my good man, I am a doctor. Dr. Watson, in fact, and believe me...
Dr. Watson? Hold on. Are you the Dr. Watson who writes about all those cases solved by Sherlock Holmes? I've read all your adventures.
Who are you?
My name is Lamb, Governor. I'm Sir Bromsby's coachman. Tell me, is he really that clever, this Sherlock Holmes?
Look sharp, Lamb. Sherlock Holmes and I require your able assistance.
No doubt.
Stand firm at the private entrance and make sure no one enters or leaves until Holmes or myself returns.
My pleasure, Dr. Watson. You tell Mr. Holmes that if anybody even steps on the lawn, they'll have to deal with Lamb. And I can tell you, there are few bold enough to dare my fists.
This door is blocked.
That gate is the only way in or out of here, Dr. Watson. I've already secured the other door on orders of Miss Lambert to avoid them nosy reporters. If anyone tries to make a break through the garden, they won't get past me.
I leave you, Lamb.
Right, I'll stand guard.
Miss Lambert, I have been looking for you. What a tragedy.
Simply dreadful. Can't believe what they're saying about Miss Lavinia.
Why did you open the gate so hastily?
I was so upset. I know now it was imprudent. I should have waited until the authorities arrived, but some of those gentlemen were so loudly insistent that I yielded.
Have you informed the police?
The village constable attended the reception. He left on his bicycle, I assume to inform the proper authorities. He told me that an inspector from Scotland Yard was already in the area on official business. I know nothing about the nature of his business, but I was told he should arrive soon.
What sort of man was your employer?
Oh, he was a great man. The people of the hall considered him to be very strict, but I think it was just his way of showing a fatherly attitude. And he dreamed of this day when Miss Lavinia would return.
You have a list of guests.
Oh, of course. I have a complete guest list for the reception. It's inside the dining room. I believe the police will have need of it. Well, nevertheless, I must first caution them to pay little heed to the notations I made regarding certain names.
Why were these notations made?
Their purpose was to note particular seating arrangements for the meal and the recital, according to specific concerns. Those individuals whom I considered to be very important were marked with a circle.
What about the other odd marks?
Louis-Philippe, Monsieur de la Mazardière, suggested this method of arranging the seating. He also advised me that those guests with poor eyesight and hearing should be seated so that the acoustics and lighting in their room would favour their enjoyment of the recital. So the first category was marked with a point, the second with a cross.
What do you know about this Frenchman?
He is from a noble family, but found himself forced to seek a vocation as a head waiter. He is so inspired and keenly sensitive to the details. At first, I was afraid that Sir Bromsby would take offence with his suggestions, but he had moderated his opinions regarding French culture due to the influence of his friend Horace Fowlett.
What did he do that was so extraordinary?
His assistance was invaluable. He took such concerns with every little detail. The dishes, the tablecloths, everything. He not only declined an offer of lodging here at the hall, he also deferred his wages until the end of the reception. Oh, I would be so glad if he were here now.
And where has he gone?
He had pressing business in London. In fact, he found it necessary to visit his Harley Street physician. It seems his glasses were no longer helping with his eyesight.
You have been very kind, Miss Lambert.
You are most welcome. Oh, what a tragedy.
Hello, please excuse me. I'm investigating the murder that has just happened.
Oh, yes. Well, that is good. What would you like to know?
Where were you at the moment when Sir Bromsby was killed?
I was near the stage, and I saw him falling. Oh, my goodness, it was terrifying. I ran for the door, but despite all my efforts, it was blocked.
But your costume is torn. How did this happen?
When I was trying to open the door, the crowd dragged me away. I then fell to the floor. I fortunately suffered no harm, but when I arose, my beautiful costume was ripped and stained.
Well, I won't disturb you anymore.
Yes, no, fine, thanks.
Excuse me, may I speak with you?
Yeah, your servant, sir.
Are you one of the domestics employed by the hall?
No, I am the personal servant to old Satterthwaite. He is there, sitting on that bench. He seems right enough, but he refused a small drink for his health. Surely he cannot be well.
Tell me, what have you seen?
I heard the shot, then such a strange noise, and the next thing I know, all those money bags are running in a mad rush with their wives or whatever.
Thank you for your help.
My pleasure.
And you, what are you doing here?
I'm waiting for Miss Roundtree, the niece of that banker chap. She is inconsolable, all because her admirer of a mere 3 days' acquaintance had already abandoned her. Nothing unusual about that. There is no worse-tempered female than this girl. Well, maybe other than my wife.
You heard the shot?
I just left to relieve myself there at the end of the garden, you see. Seems to me I missed a good race for the doors, worthy of the Royal Derby.
Well, good.
Cheers.
Well, my good man, why are you here?
I am the manservant of Lieutenant Harrington. I accompanied him with the old general of the infantry or whatever. I seem to have drunk too much.
Did you hear the shot?
What shot? Oh, the shot. Great reception, isn't it?
I have to go. Are you all right?
Very good. Bye, madam.
Are you a relative of the victim?
No. In truth, I always mocked Sir Bromsby. I am upset because my friend did not arrive as promised.
As beautiful as she is cruel, apparently. Do you work here, miss?
Yes, my name is Sue. I am a maid for the hall.
Where were you when these tragic events took place?
I was serving when it happened. I ran straight for the door, just like the others. I swear his daughter must have done it. She's such a strange one.
Thank you, miss. We may talk with you again.
Oh, I hope so.
I have questioned everyone here. I'll go see if Holmes has finished on his end. Holmes! The gate!
I know, Watson, but it is of no real consequence. To question all these people would be a tiresome activity, and would be of no value to this inquiry. Such ordinary inquiries are best left to the police. They have their purposes.
As you like, Holmes.
Now, Watson, to put your mind at rest, I can see that you have done well in my absence by placing the formidable coachman at the gate. I also imagine you have already spoken with Miss Lambert?
Yes, and some other people too.
Hold your report until I return to Baker Street. Meanwhile, be a good man and look to the gate. I must be informed the moment any official arrives. As always, I depend on your able assistance, Watson. It is a size 7.
Holmes!
Good day, Lestrade. Your haste deserves comment. One could say that you were right to hurry here, as this case is one of great complexity and challenge. Do not worry. I think that you will manage to get back to your mother before the dinner hour.
In the name of devil, Holmes, you go too far. Do you spy on me now? How do you know I've been to my mother's?
Dear Lestrade, it is really quite simple. I must admit my mind has been stimulated by the main course, which would be this unique case. However, I sometimes enjoy a light snack of the details which surround it. Observe, we are in the middle of the countryside, and you have some fresh yellow pollen, but only on your right sleeve. This implies a recent gift of flowers. It is a gallant gesture, but surely a meeting with the fairer of our species would take place in London. Considering the promptness of your arrival, it must have been a bouquet of flowers you took to someone who lives in this area. I presume that you have family living nearby, and I would think only your mother would warrant such an attentive gesture. There is a fresh dab of fat at the corner of your mouth, as well as on the bit of handkerchief visible from your pocket. This is consistent with a recent meal of a big piece of steak. Who would make a policeman swallow such a substantial meal at this hour, and when a crime has been just committed? It could only be a mother thinking about the hard task awaiting her child.
Well, Holmes, when you explain it like that, it really seems quite simple. Good show. What about this Bromsby murder?
A unique case, as I've already noted, but any supposition would be premature until we consider Dr. Watson's report, as well as your own findings. Miss Lavinia has asked that the esteemed Dr. Watson and I give this case our full attention, though I doubt she is aware of all the implications of this case. Lestrade, you can find the victim inside, and I recommend calling upon his solicitor, Mr. Horace Fowlett. Mrs. Hudson is cooking a roast tomorrow at noon. Why don't you be our guest, and we can share our discoveries? What do you think? Watson and I must take our leave, as there's much to be done at Baker Street. Are you coming, Watson? Let us return to Baker Street. Everything is well noted. Watson, bravo. All of these elements will be a great help to us. As for myself, I have already told you everything that I know, and I can tell you nothing more until I receive answers to the messages I've sent with Wiggins. Now I must return to my experiments to test my theory regarding the substance I found at the scene of the murder. Meanwhile, I suggest you look through the books in the bookcase. Information that you find there might prove very useful in resolving this case.
I have to check 3 books on the shelves. Let's see. Here is information which could be really helpful in our investigation. These Churapaki cigarettes come from Brazil, and they seem to contain narcotic substances. What might they be?
I need to analyze the evidence found at Sherringford Hall. A piece of white cloth, a small box, various powders, and finally the hair. Let's get to work. I need to analyze the evidence found at Sherringford Hall. A piece of white cloth, a small box, various powders, and finally the hair. Let's get to work. To analyze the nature of these stains, I must first soak the cloth in a solution of soap and water. Now I shall place this cloth in the solvent. Now I shall place this cloth in the solvent. The stains are sticky, but not very oily. What would be the reaction if I heated this powder? Burnt gunpowder. A box containing some white powder. Let's examine it under the microscope. These powders are similar. I can see it from the grains. What would be the reaction if I heated this powder? It has no effect. Let's mix some water with this powder. A glue or pasty substance, like starch. Let's examine it under the microscope. A light feminine perfume. Let's examine it. A man's hair. I need to analyze the evidence found at Sherringford Hall. Let's examine it under the microscope. A very fine white cotton. It seems to me that we have gathered all of the key elements, Watson. However, before we retire, let's summarize our findings. The questions should be answered yes or no and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation. We must have made an error, Watson. Let's check our answers. The questions should be answered yes or no and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation. It is simplicity itself, Watson. We have answered all the questions.